take a break from petting those cute animals because today we're diving deep into the dark truth behind Aphmau's zoo. Hello Internet, welcome to Minecraft Theory, the show that turns your favorite fun games into existential nightmares. And boy, do I have a doozy for you today. You know Aphmau's adorable zoo videos that make you go, oh, at all the cute animals? Well, get ready to say ah instead, because what I'm about to show you will change how you see these innocent looking videos forever. Let's start with what seems like a normal day at the zoo. Aphmau and her friends are looking at some penguins. Cute, right? But wait, why does Aaron say, what's wrong with that one? It's so ugly. And why does Pierce respond with your ugly dude? That one looks like you. Now you might think this is just friendly banter, but loyal theorists pay attention. This is our first clue that something's very wrong in this zoo. These aren't just regular animals, they're showing signs of individual recognition and personality traits that match specific people. But the real kicker comes next. Watch what happens when they try to collect these special penguins. Suddenly, one of them turns into a bunny, just like that. No explanation, no special effects, just poof, penguin to bunny. Now, you might say, but MatPat from the multiverse, it's just a game. Games have weird mechanics all the time. And normally I'd agree with you, but stick with me because this is where things get really interesting. Look at what happens next. The gang suddenly finds themselves in different chunks or areas. Zane doesn't even know what he is anymore. He asks, wait, what are you? And someone responds that he looks like a pirate in a zoo. And then comes the really suspicious part. They're told to beware of the alligators. But here's the thing, these aren't normal zoo alligators, they're everywhere in the city. Since when do cities have alligators roaming around freely? This isn't Florida, folks. The characters are confused too. One of them asks, why does the city have alligators everywhere? Why indeed? Unless these aren't really alligators at all. We are girl Ile. Something more sinister? Let's look at another strange detail. When they're gathering resources, one of them says, I got a rock. Just a rock. In a zoo. Where are all the normal zoo supplies, the food, the care equipment? Instead, they're collecting random blocks and rocks like they're building something or maybe rebuilding something that was destroyed. Then we get to what I consider the smoking gun of the segment, the bugs. Oh boy, the bugs. These aren't your ordinary garden variety insects. These are aggressive roaches that actually hurt the characters. Since when do roaches in a zoo game cause damage? And why are the characters so desperate to clean the area to get rid of them? Listen to how they talk about these roaches. Die, 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 die. That's not normal zookeeper behavior. And notice how the roaches are described as something that has to be survived. Those are some pretty intense words for what's supposed to be a cute zoo game. But here's where it gets really interesting. When Aaron goes to help the others with their roach problem, he's called brave for dealing with roaches, unless these aren't really roaches at all. What if there's something else? Something that's trying to break free? And notice how the areas are described. One of them gets the icy tundra and complains that it stinks. Another gets what they call a basic area that's an absolute wreck. These don't sound like carefully planned zoo exhibits. They sound more like sectors, containment sectors. Think about it. The random transformations, the separated areas, the aggressive wildlife, the constant need to rebuild and clean, the mysterious alligators patrolling everywhere. What if this isn't a zoo at all? What if it's something much more complex and dark? But before I reveal what I think is really going on here, we need to look at even more evidence. Because trust me, loyal theorists, what we've seen so far is just the tip of this very suspicious iceberg. But that's not even the strangest part, loyal theorists. Let's look at what happens next in this so-called zoo. We see someone get an elephant, but not just any elephant, a baby elephant. And immediately we hear something very suspicious. You can't put a baby on display. Now, why would someone be so worried about displaying a baby animal? Zoos show baby animals all the time. Unless these aren't really baby animals at all. What if there's something or something or something? And look at what happens next. They have to climb a mountain to keep the baby safe. A mountain. In a zoo. Since when do zookeepers need to climb mountains to protect their animals? But here's where it gets really weird. While they're climbing, giant boulders start falling down. Just random boulders appearing out of nowhere, forcing them to jump and dodge. Pay attention to what they say. Be careful with the rocks. They knew the rocks were coming. They expected them. But in what kind of zoo do you have to watch out for falling boulders? Unless these are random rock falls at all. What if there's some kind of security measure? But wait, it gets even weirder. During all this chaos, someone loses their baby elephant. And how do they react? I guess things did feel a little lighter. That's a pretty casual response to losing a baby animal. And then immediately after, someone tries to steal another baby. Pierce, give me your baby. You can't steal a baby. Loyal theorists, think about this. Real zookeepers don't try to steal each other's animals. They don't treat losing animals like it's no big deal, unless these are really zookeepers at all. What if there's something else, something more sinister? And then we get to the really suspicious part. The rain starts, but this isn't your normal gentle zoo cleaning rain. Oh no, this is a full-on tsunami. The whole city starts drowning. And notice how they react, they're not surprised. They're not saying, why is there a tsunami? They're just dealing with it like it's normal. Listen to what they say. The city is drowning. This is a lot of rain. They're treating it like it's just another day at the zoo. But here's the thing, real zoos don't regularly face tsunamis. They don't have to constantly rescue their animals from flooding. And pay special attention to this part. One of them says, drain your zoo, like they have control over these floods, like someone is making these disasters happen on purpose. Watch what happens next. In the middle of this catastrophe, someone casually mentions they're a single parent now. A single parent to a zoo animal. That's not how zoos work. Unless these aren't really zoo animals at all. What if there's something else? Something that needs parents? And notice how some of them seem perfectly fine with the flood. My otter can swim, don't worry. But others are panicking, trying to get to higher ground. Why would some animals be totally fine while others are in danger? Unless these are really all the same kind of beings. But here's the most telling detail of all. Right before the flood hits, we see them building what they call chunks. Not exhibits, not enclosures, chunks, like pieces of something bigger, something that's been broken apart. And they're desperate to build these chunks for the baby. The evidence is starting to paint a very different picture of what's really going on in this zoo. But before we can understand the full truth, we need to look at even more clues. Because, trust me, loyal theorists, what we've seen so far is just the beginning of this very deep rabbit hole. But here's where things get really interesting. Loyal theorists, watch what happens when they find a mysterious barrel in the middle of all this chaos. Now, in a normal zoo, finding a barrel might not be a big deal, but in this zoo, oh boy, are you in for a surprise? First, they have to use sponges to drain the water. 27 sponges to be exact. That's oddly specific, isn't it? Almost like there's some kind of system in place. A system designed to control these floods with exact precision. But the real kicker comes when they open that barrel. What jumps out? A piranha. But not just any piranha, a piranha that makes them scream and run for their lives. Now, I know what you're thinking, but piranhas are scary. Sure, but these are supposed to be zookeepers. They deal with dangerous animals all the time, unless this isn't a normal piranha at all. And then we get to something super suspicious. Someone offers to help with the piranha problem, but only if they can trade for a baby. Yes, you heard that right. They're treating these babies like trading cards, trading me your baby. Who does that? What kind of zoo allows baby animals to be traded like Pokemon cards? But wait, it gets even weirder. Look at what happens next. They suddenly find themselves in a completely different area with hippos. And these aren't your friendly, hungry hippos. These hippos have what they call attitude. But here's the really strange part. They talk about claiming animals to free their friends. Free their friends. Since when do zoo animals need to be freed? And pay close attention to this line. That's how I free my friends, apparently. Like they're just figuring out the rules of this place. Like it's some kind of system they have to work within. A system where collecting certain animals somehow releases trapped people. Does that sound like a normal zoo to you? But here's something even more mind-blowing. When some of them get stuck in a tree, they can't just climb down. No, they need someone else to help them get down. They're literally trapped until someone else comes to release them. And when someone suggests just breaking the blocks to get down, they act like that's some kind of radical idea. And then there's the time issue. Did you catch what they said? We were gone for like 2 minutes. But in those 2 minutes, there was a whole tsunami. Time isn't working normally in this place. Events are happening too fast, too chaotically, like someone's controlling the pace of everything. Plus, let's talk about these pets they keep getting. 1 minute it's a polar bear, the next minute it's some cute little guy they can't even properly describe. These animals aren't staying consistent. They're changing, transforming, appearing, and disappearing like they're not really animals at all. Remember how earlier they were so desperate for babies. Now suddenly they're calling other people's pets weird and lame. The whole attitude towards these animals keeps shifting, like they can't decide if they're precious babies that need protection or just random creatures they can trade away. But the most telling detail of all, look at how they have to claim animals to progress. Not care for them, not help them, just claim them like they're taking possession of them. Like they're collecting prisoners, animals. The evidence is mounting. Loyal theorists, these strange transformations, the controlled disasters, the trapped friends, the weird time shifts, the claiming system, it's all pointing to something much bigger than just a simple zoo. But to understand what's really going on here, we need to look at even more clues. And just when you think things couldn't get any stranger, loyal theorists, we need to talk about the names. Oh yes, the names. Watch how they interact with these so-called animals. One of them has a pet rock that they insist isn't a rock at all. It's Boulder. But not just a boulder. Its name is Boulder. They're very specific about this distinction, almost like they're trying to preserve some kind of identity. But that's just the beginning of the weirdness with names. We've got a character named Mr. Crackers. Now that might sound cute and innocent, but pay attention to how they treat Mr. Crackers. They're not just showing him around, they're showing him the new neighborhood. Like he's not just an animal, but a new resident being introduced to their sector, area. And then there's the really suspicious part about the numbers. We actually have 3 kids now. They say kites, not animals, not pets, but kiddes. And notice how they say they're stuck in different areas. One specifically mentions being stuck on that stupid swamp. Since when do zoo animals get stuck in specific areas? Unless these aren't really areas at all, but rather containment zones. But here's where it gets really wild. They start talking about how one of the creatures has a little bit of an attitude and likes to chomp. Now, in a normal zoo, dangerous behavior would be a serious concern. But here, they treat it like it's just a personality quirk. She's so cute, just be careful around its mouth. That's not normal zookeeper behavior, folks. And did you catch what they said about the resemblance? She reminds me of our baby, a little too much. Too much. Why would that be concerning unless there's something more going on here? Something they're starting to notice but can't quite put their finger on? Then we get to what I consider one of the biggest smoking guns yet. One of them casually mentions not wanting to get kidnapped again. Like this is something that happens regularly. But instead of being terrified by this, they just accept it as part of their daily routine. But wait, there's more. They suddenly enter what they call a new chunk and everything changes. The environment completely shifts to a beach setting and they treat this like it's totally normal. Oh, it's a beach vacation. They say like dimensional shifting is just another Tuesday at the zoo. And then we get to the really weird part, the animal identification game. But watch closely how they struggle with this supposedly simple task. An eagle gets called a monkey gets called an eagle, and they can't seem to agree on what anything is. These are supposed to be zookeepers, but they can't tell basic animals apart. Even more suspicious, the sounds they hear. One of them says it sounds like their friend Zane, but another quickly corrects them, no, it's animals. Like they're trying to cover up something they weren't supposed to notice. And when someone gets a little too close to the truth, they quickly change the subject to building a barn. Speaking of that barn, notice how they say it's going to be so nice for the little and then get cut off. They can't even finish their sentence, almost like they're not supposed to reveal too much about these little ones they're keeping. The evidence is piling up, loyal theorists. The name preservation, the kids instead of animals, the containment zones, the personality recognition, the kidnapping mentions, the dimensional shifts, the inability to identify basic animals. It's all pointing to something much bigger than just a simple zoo. But to understand what's really going on here, we need to dig even deeper. But here's where things get really interesting, loyal theorists. Remember those alligators from earlier? Well, they're back, and what happens next is absolutely mind-blowing. Watch how one of them actually thanks the alligators for taking them away from Pierce. That's right, they're forming alliances with what are supposed to be dangerous animals. And these aren't your regular zoo alligators either. They move in perfect patterns left and right, staying in corners, snapping at exact moments. Almost like they're programmed, or maybe trained guards carrying out specific patrol routes. But wait, it gets even weirder. Look at how they deal with these alligators. Instead of proper zoo safety protocols, they're throwing people at them. I'm trying to distract the gators by throwing Zane, they say. Who throws their friends at dangerous animals? Unless these aren't really dangerous animals at all, but something else entirely. And then we get to what I consider one of the most suspicious parts yet. They get stuck. Not just a little stuck, but my butt stuck level of stuck. These supposed zookeepers can't even move freely in their own zoo. It's almost like they're being restricted, contained, controlled. Then there's this mysterious target block they find. When they step on it, strange things happen. One of them gets dizzy. Another one has some kind of weird reaction. But here's the really suspicious part. They don't seem surprised by this at all. Like random blocks that make you dizzy are just another normal day at the zoo. But now we get to the really big revelation. Pay attention to what happens next, because this is huge. Someone mentions they're going to steal everywhere animals and be evil. Evil, they literally use the word evil. But before they can act on this plan, something very convenient happens. The animals start disappearing. First a sheep vanishes, then a bear. And everyone immediately jumps to the most suspicious conclusion ever. Poachers took the animal. But think about this for a second. In what zoo do poachers just casually walk in and start taking animals? And why do these poachers show up right when someone threatens to be evil? And here's the kicker: when these so-called poachers appear, they're described as big fellows, not sneaky thieves, not crafty criminals, but big, imposing figures that show up right when someone steps out of line. Almost like there's some kind of security force. Watch how quickly everything changes when these poachers appear. Everyone starts grabbing replacement animals. But why would a zoo need replacement animals? Unless these aren't really animals at all, but something else that needs to be maintained in specific numbers. The panic that ensues is telling too. Grab all the sheep. They yell, not protect the animals or call security like real zookeepers would. No, they're focused on grabbing and replacing like they're trying to maintain some kind of quota or balance. And notice how none of this seems to really surprise anyone. They're more annoyed than shocked. Like this is all part of some bigger system they're starting to understand. A system where stepping out of line leads to immediate consequences, where mysterious figures enforce unknown rules, and where everyone is just trying to maintain the illusion of a normal zoo. But to understand what's really going on here, we need to look even deeper into these patterns. Because trust me, loyal theorists, we're just scratching the surface of this mystery. And now, loyal theorists, we're getting to the really dark stuff. Watch what happens when someone causes trouble in this so-called zoo. Instead of proper animal control methods, what do? They literally throw someone off the edge. And the scariest part, they say that's how we always take care of our problems. Always, like this is standard procedure. But here's where things get really weird. Right after this happens, everyone suddenly finds themselves in their animal forms. Think about that for a second. They don't say they're wearing costumes or playing pretend. They specifically say they're in their animal forms. And they're confused about it. Why are we in our animal forms, they ask. Almost like this transformation wasn't their choice. And where do they end up? In what they call a maze, but notice how quickly they want to get through it. Let's make this quick, they say. Almost like they know this maze is some kind of punishment system. A way to deal with those who step out of line. Then the competition starts. But this isn't your friendly zoo game. They're hunting each other. Stop moving and we'll figure this out, one says while chasing another. They're literally treating each other like prey. And the way they talk about training partners, it's like they're being forced to participate in some kind of twisted elimination game. But here's where it gets really suspicious. After all this chaos, they're suddenly given a choice of animals. But look at how they describe these choices. They don't say cute tiger or beautiful snake. No, they call them things like little noodle and chunky tiger. These aren't normal zoo descriptions, folks. They're talking about these animals like they're different versions of something else. And pay attention to what happens next. Someone suggests putting a tiger in with the sheep just to see what happens. Now, any real zookeeper would know exactly what would happen. It would be a disaster. But these characters, they treat it like some kind of experiment. The size changes are super suspicious too. Notice how they keep pointing out how chunky the tiger is, asking why is he so chunky. Like they're noticing something's not quite right with these animal forms. Almost like these aren't natural animals at all, but something transformed. Then we get to what might be the most telling detail yet. They start calling the snake a danger noodle. But why use cute, silly names for what should be serious zoo animals, unless they're trying to make light of something much darker? Something they don't want to think too hard about. But the really mind-blowing part is how casually they treat all of this, getting thrown off edges. Just another day, mysterious transformations, no big deal. Dangerous animals being mixed together, why not? It's like they're stuck in this system for so long they've started to accept its twisted logic as normal. And notice how none of them question why they keep transforming, or why they're being forced into these weird competitions, or why they're collecting all these animals in the first place. It's almost like they can't question it, like they're part of some bigger system they can't fully understand or resist. The evidence is mounting, loyal theorists. The forced transformations, the punishment mazes, the mysterious competitions, the unnatural animal behaviors, it's all pointing to something much darker than a simple zoo. But to understand what's really happening here, we need to look even deeper. And now, loyal theorists, we've reached the moment of truth. Everything we've seen has been building to this final revelation. Watch what happens when they try to feed the tiger. Someone suggests Frosted Flakes, like the cereal mascot Tony the Tiger. But look at their reaction. That would kill him. And then secondly, we need him alive. Need him alive. Not want him alive, but need him alive. Almost like these animals serve some greater purpose. A purpose that requires them to stay alive no matter what. But here's where it gets really wild. Someone says the animals should be free and talks about giving them an opportunity to live. Now, in a normal zoo, that would sound nice, right? But watch what happens next. Absolute chaos breaks loose. They put a seal with a polar bear, natural enemies, and try to make them be friends. When someone points out that polar bears eat seals, the response is chilling, but no, they're friends. They're literally trying to force natural predators and prey to live together. And then we get to what I consider the smoking gun of this whole theory. When things start going wrong, someone says our animals are still good. Still good. Like they're trying to maintain some kind of behavioral control. And notice how they mentioned having a few less sheep, like losing animals is just a normal occurrence. But the real revelation comes when they talk about visitors. Instead of being excited about people coming to see their zoo, they say hopefully they don't attract most visitors. What kind of zoo doesn't want visitors? Unless these aren't really visitors at all. What if there's something else? Something more sinister? And then everything falls apart. The snake, or as they call it, the danger noodle, goes insane. But pay attention to their reaction. They don't call animal control. They don't evacuate. Instead, they say lock the gates, and then the really suspicious part, the poachers are part of the attraction. Part of the attraction. Think about that for a second. What kind of zoo includes poachers as part of their attraction? Unless these aren't really poachers at all. What if there's something else? something that's actually supposed to be there. And finally, we get to the most damning evidence of all. In the midst of total chaos, with animals running wild and a giant snake on the loose, how do they the situation? The animals are just happy, while everything is falling apart. But here's what it all means, loyal theorists. What we're looking at isn't just a zoo, it's a cosmic prison system. Think about it. The constant transformations, those are punishment forms designed to strip away identity and maintain control. The different chunks aren't exhibits, they're prison sectors. The floods and natural disasters. Security measures to keep everyone in line. Those poachers aren't stealing animals, they're prison guards maintaining order. The forced friendships between predator and prey, that's behavior modification. The mysterious visitors they want to avoid, prison inspectors. Even the way they keep saying everything is fine and happy while chaos reigns, it's all part of the illusion. They're not zookeepers, they're unwitting wardens in a massive cosmic corrections facility. And the scariest part? They don't even realize it. But hey, before you go running off to check your local zoo for interdimensional prisoners, why not keep those brain cells firing with another theory? YouTube's got one picked out just for you, floating somewhere on your screen right now. And remember, watching another video doesn't just make you smarter, it also tells YouTube that you love having your mind blown by film theory. Until next time, game on, theorists!